Good day, lads. Today we'll be going over the Haiti Revolution, which is only available to the French. Okie dory. Let's take a look at the cards that you'll get when you go with the Haiti Revolution. First up, you have the fort wagon, which will let you build a fort, which is useful for building military units. Then you have citizenship, which will let you build villagers for 70 coin. You have the 3 falconet shipment, just like what you get with the Barbary States. Then you also have the infinite 2 covered wagon, as well as the 3 privateers, the 15 Carib blowgunners, and then last but not least, the letter of Marquis, which is an important card which will give your buccaneers a ranged attack and let them gather resource crates. Before you revolt, though, you're going to play as France for a while and you'll be able to select certain cards. One of the most important will be the Grip Vol system, which will improve your Falcs. This is paramount because you won't be getting the normal Falc improvement that you can research by going Imperial. When you go with the Haiti Revolution, the special bonus is that your town centers will slowly generate pirates. These pirates are completely free, but they take time to spawn, so the more town centers you're able to get, the better. Thankfully, the Infinite 2 Town Center card will make it easy for you to mass up town centers, which will in turn make it easy for you to mass pirates, which will act as good cannon fodder for the rest of your ranged units, like your cannons or your excellent French skirmishers. Another advantage of having so many of these town centers is that if one of your allies, like say an American ally, sends a card that spawns 1 thing per town center, then that means you're going to get a lot of things. For example, if an American ally sends the Alaska purchase shipment, then you're going to get a lot of silver mine wagons, which means you're going to have a lot of gold. Haiti is a gold-hungry revolution. Your villagers cost gold, and also, if you choose to build your buccaneers from the barracks, they're going to cost gold too. Of course, I don't recommend that you build these from the barracks because they're not that effective in combat against other units, and it's just better to wait for them to spawn from your town center, especially if you're expecting heavy casualties in a treaty game, which happens a lot. It should be noted, however, that when you start the Haiti Revolution, your villagers aren't going to turn into buccaneers. Instead, they'll turn into Haitian revolutionaries, which are just revolutionaries that cost a bit more and have slightly more hit points. However, these won't be your main tools of the trade. As a French player, probably not going to build a lot of these guys, because you already have your excellent skirmishers. You'll probably just get 50 from the initial revolt, and then they'll either live or die. Since your TCs will be continuously shooting out buccaneers, we're going to pay a lot more attention to the buccaneers, because they'll be the units you'll be seeing more as a Haiti player. Now, the buccaneers, after you send the letter of Marquis, can switch to a volley mode, which gives them a range attack, which basically makes them an age 3 skirmisher. And that's on top of them already being an H2 pikeman, more or less. The trouble with that is that by the time you send these, you'll be running into units that have their H4 upgrades, their H5 upgrades. It's a bit like the trouble that the Chinese have, where when you're going against units that have just so much more health and such a higher attack, then you can run into cases where units that are supposed to counter other units just fall flat. In this case, you can see the Buccaneers getting chewed up by the upgraded Janissaries because they simply have more health, they have more attack, so that ×2 bonus against heavy infantry just won't cut it anymore. This is the problem that the Buccaneers will run into by the time you're using them. And let's be real, you're not just going to be going up against upgraded heavy infantry. Odds are, by the time you get Buccaneers out, you'll be running into situations where there will be much heavier units on the field. Heavy cannons, Spahi, fully upgraded enemy cuirassiers that are in trample mode. It's gonna get ugly. But now that I've already trash-talked the unit, let's talk about what they're actually good at. First off, like I mentioned, they're basically H2 pikemen that you're getting for free. That means that just like pikemen, they're great for sieging down buildings. So if you're going against a Japan player, these guys can take down shrines no problem. They can get in there, they can take down buildings, you can split them off from an attack to have them distract a player by breaking through a wall. Generally, they're just great siege units, and they do decent against cavalry in melee mode, since they do a bonus against cavalry. Sure, a gendarme can kill them, but there are just so many of them that they'll win via numbers. Another area where they shine is in naval operations, because when you land on an island, odds are the player's going to have a wall right by the shore, or they're going to have shore fortifications, so having a giant stack of these boys there to siege stuff down makes it totally worthwhile, and after they open up a hole, in any beachside defenses, then the rest of your units can push through. It also helps that the privateer boats from Haiti can build more of these guys. Sure, they're not as strong as the privateer boats from, say, the Barbary State, but they still get their use in. And with the 3 privateer card, they're not a bad option. So what these guys are good at is taking down buildings via their siege damage, and they also have the neat trick of being able to trade decently well with heavy infantry, at least when they're in volley mode. Of course, they'll lose out to those units with all those fancy upgrades, but you're trading free units for units that your opponent spent resources on. So, over time, it'll work out. If you hit the Haiti Revolution, just treat these guys as pikemen and use them as such. Siege down buildings, get in your more powerful units to take out the enemy, and have fun. Oh, one last thing. I forgot to mention, but Buccaneers, after you send Letter of Marquis, can also gather from resource crates, including your opponent's resource crates, and they can also kill off treasure guardians, and then take treasures. So, yeah, if you want to siege down a bunch of buildings and then steal all of your opponent's stuff, choose Haiti. Liberty? Equality? Oh,